Ukraine, and also the revelation about these biolabs. Retired Army Colonel, welcome back to the program, Doug Macgregor. Colonel, this is a problem. Our government said we didn't have them there. They're still claiming we had nothing to do with them, but the biolabs are there. That was one of the major factors that Putin said he was going to take this stance and attack. So what do you know about these things, and why is the Biden regime now having to backpedal about the actual existence of biolabs?
You know, Dan, the biolabs are a known quantity. What we don't know about them is what goes on inside of them. But what was most interesting about Victoria Nuland is that she reminds me of someone who was caught stealing a bicycle, then showed up on television to reassure everyone, I didn't steal the bicycle. I'm not a thief. That's a tough position to be in. I think almost anything is possible based upon what we've learned over many years. The bad news is that what we're told by our government is often wrong, and it's not accurate.
Yes.
The best policy really, really, really is honesty, but we seem to like the other policy too. And I think that's the problem here. Now, you're right about the Russians and the Ukrainians. Both societies have enormous problems with corruption.
Yes, they do.
But I think we need to understand that this Russia is not the Soviet Union, neither is Ukraine. This is a very different setting involving different issues. And when you talked about Kamala Harris, what's really disturbing about all of this is that the only man who could interject himself or place himself in the middle of this and bring on a ceasefire is really President Biden. If President Biden would stand up and say, look, forget membership in NATO, we will support a neutral Ukraine, and I am prepared to host a conference right now with all the states that border Ukraine and Russia, as well as with Russia and any other European heads of state who want to participate, in order to hammer out the details of this neutrality and reach some sort of agreement on the other outstanding issues.
That sounds like somebody else, Colonel.
Ukraine is being destroyed.
That sounds like somebody else. Didn't President Trump do that? Wasn't he good with pushing that Ukraine should stay neutral?
Well, he tried,
yeah,
but frankly, he wasn't able to do it.
At least
he tried very hard, and he was very uncomfortable sending weapons to Ukraine because he knew that this simply raised a red flag for the Russians. I don't think President Trump was aware of a lot of things because the people working for him didn't always tell him the truth. So I don't think he was aware of these labs, and I think if he had been, he would have been incensed. But we don't know, we really don't know, and won't know until at some point in the future, someone other than the Russians or we or the Ukrainians goes in there and tells us what's there. Let's face it.
What do you make of, because this was the big headline yesterday besides the facilities being uncovered, which we knew were there, that hospital bombing in Mariupol. Russia still claims we did not do it, we did not do it. And I ask that because I'm watching that Victoria gal give that testimony under oath to Senator Marco Rubio, and the phrasing that she used, that we're not funding, we didn't set them up. Doesn't mean we're not involved, she never said that. And then he asks a question that says, so if there is an unleash of a bioweapon, it falls into Russia's hand, could we assume that Russia then did it? They're like setting this up that if, oh goodness, there's a leak or something happens from one of these labs, it definitely was Russia. And the hospital was definitely Russia. But there's questions about this thing. And again, I'm not sticking up for Putin. Again, both are corrupt, and it's hard to get correct information from a war zone. You know that as a colonel. So I'm just posing the questions here.
Yeah, well, based on personal experience, Americans have made mistakes. In other words, our pilots have attacked targets they mistook for something they weren't. Sometimes they were given targets to attack that were absolutely not military, but civilian. And when we do that, eventually we tell the truth and we say, this was a mistake and we're sorry. Unfortunately, there is a tendency initially to say, we didn't do it, it's not us, it's someone else, or it's the presumed enemy. We just don't know.
Yeah.
If the Russians did it, the best thing for them to do is to step forward and say, look, we did it, we didn't do it deliberately, it's a mistake. It was an accident, if that's the case. Unfortunately, we're depicting the Russians as the permanent bad guys, and we're treating Ukraine as though it is filled with saintly people. And you and I both know that in war, nothing is ever all black or all white.
Right. I know
Mistakes
there's
are made
innocent
on
civilians
both
being
sides.
injured and killed, but I know that government was ranked and rated not long ago as one of the most corrupt governments on the planet. And I'm talking about Ukrainian government. So anyway, Colonel, keep your, I don't know if there's miles, but keep your Uber miles or whatever handy. We're going to need you, I have a feeling, a lot over the next few weeks until this gets all sorted out. Colonel Doug Macgregor, as always, former advisor to Defense Secretary under President Trump, and also the author of the book, Margin of Victory. As always, Colonel, thank you for coming on the program. Take care, sir.